Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. You are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. A couple of summers ago, we gave birth to a stillborn little girl. It still makes me sad, not like it did. I remember the terror. I remember the horrible sadness finding out at the doctor that our little girl had died inside. And I remember the urgency on his face when he said we needed to come in the very next day to deliver her. I remember the fear in my heart when we wondered if things were going to go wrong for my wife, the terror in that. And I remember the horrible, horrible sadness in the months that followed and the year that followed, and that still comes back and catches me unaware. I remember all that. But I also remember this. On the way to the hospital, we couldn't find our way, and we pulled up next to some police and said, the guy driving us said, we're going to a hospital to deliver a dead baby. And the police got in their cars and turned on their sirens, or their lights, and led us through these winding little streets in a Spanish city that we didn't know, and to the hospital. I don't think I ever received a bill for all of that happened in that hospital, and where the nurses would hold your arm and cry with you, and you could hear the church bells ring outside. I remember in the months after being at a spiritual direction training and being overwhelmed with grief and crushed and having dark, painful questions living inside me about the goodness of God, and going to the sea. And I remember sitting at the sea and sensing the presence of God like I had never sensed before. And it wasn't a healing presence. It was a respectful presence. He was just with me. No answers for my questions. No need to defend himself. Just with me. Like inexpressibly and undeniably present. And right now in these days, like I have seen the Lord deliver people from trouble and deliver me from trouble. But right now in these days, I'm actually drawing comfort from the fact that when I was in a valley of the shadow of death, this is triple darkness, valley, shadow, death, three big disorientation metaphors. What most comforted me was presence. And what most comforts me now is my memory of his presence. Not even my memory of his deliverance, but my memory of his presence. The last time you were in a dark place, the last time you knew anxiety, the last time you knew deep sorrow, the last time you knew vast uncertainty, how did God work with you then? Remember very carefully, as vividly as you can, how God was present with you the last time you were very afraid or very sad. What from that can you bring into the present moment? The psalmist says he's comforted by God's rod and God's staff, the tools the shepherd uses to protect and to guide. In recent days, can you remember a moment where God kept you safe, where you missed the car accident, or where you asked for some guidance and then in the days following, maybe you didn't even see the connection, in the days following, a path opened up? What comfort can you draw from the fact that even when your mind is scattered and your heart is anxious and you don't know what to do, that God is still gently, quietly acting to lead you? These are rough days. They may get rougher. By the time you're watching this, it might be much rougher than what I'm looking at now. But even though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you don't need to be afraid. This psalmist remembers being in the valley and knows that he will be in it again. But because he can remember how God was with him before, he knows that the valley doesn't have to be terrifying. The valley doesn't have to be terrifying. Yea, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you don't have to be afraid because he's with you.